Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Katrina Sargent, owner and creator of Devil Doll Custom Creations. We're going to be doing something fun today, something very summery. We're going to be doing two different watermelon glitter pens for either epoxy or Brite Tone users. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you haven't already went and watched my basic pen tutorials for epoxy users or Brite Tone, I will link in the description. I also will link everything I use in the description below. I created this listing on Etsy. I'm going to be using this water slide for both of the pens today. These pens are prepped and glittered with white glitter and then Brite Toned or epoxy till smooth. This is Imagination 3D's pen assistant. It is amazing. You have two different sides. There's going to be a long side and a small side. The long side is going to go in where the tip is, and then you have what's called a saber, a handle basically, so you can glitter, you can do whatever you want to your pens. And then when you're ready to use the assistant, you add the small side in where the clicker is, and it snaps right into this little holder, and it's secure. Basically another pair of hands. I'm using clear water slide. I like these cotton gloves. You can use a rag if you want, coffee filter. You're gonna need a container of water, and then you're going to cut out your water slide and then just submerge it in the water. Never force a water slide to release before it's ready from the paper backing. Let it sit in the water until it's ready. You'll know it's ready when it starts lifting off the edges and it slides easily across the paper backing. Make sure you have your pen a little wet where you're going to put the water slide once it's released. And then once it's released from the backing, I leave the backing on as long as possible. I get a little bit off the edge and then I work from that edge over. If you go from the top to the bottom with your glove and dry it as you go, and then you turn your pen around. It's the easiest way, and your water slide won't crinkle up, your water slide won't bunch up on itself, things like that. And then once it's fully on your pen, that's when I try to work out all the water or air you have between your water slide and your pen. I like to go sideways as well as top to bottom. Just be gentle with your water slides. They will rip, they can warp, you can tear them. You have to be gentle, but you need to get all that air and water out from under that water slide for it to dry correctly onto your pen before you can epoxy or Brite Tone. I tend to make my water slides a little bit bigger just based on my pen base. If I'm doing a chunky glitter base, their water slides are going to need to be bigger to fit around that thicker pen versus fine glitter or even just spray paint base. So it's easy to trim them off. I just take a sharp craft knife, and this pen assistant makes it easy. It holds it in place for you, and then you just run it along where your water slide overlaps onto itself. And then you're just going to make sure there's no more water or air where you cut that water slide off. Then set it off to dry fully for at least 2 hours. I tend to let mine sit longer just to make sure, especially if you're using Brite Tone. If you're using Brite Tone, you have to make sure the water is completely gone before you move on. And then clip it into its stand and move on to the next pin. The next pin, I'm going to be doing printed vinyl, the same image, but it's white printed vinyl. You don't have to spray paint your pin. This is still prepped, so it's still sanded correctly. And you have to make sure all of the white is cut off of your vinyl. It will show. So I normally just cut off one little side of the backing until I have it laid on my pin how I want it. Then I will remove the rest of it. This just kind of helps the vinyl from sticking to itself. It just saves a little bit. You don't have to do this step. You can just remove the backing if you would like, but I find it helpful. And then you're going to just lay it vertically on your pin. I stay away from the top little edge of the pin that kind of curves in. I paint that to match the color. And then once that little section is completely secure, I then remove the rest of the backing before I move on. I like to rotate it towards me. You're going to be using your thumbs to rub from the middle to the top and the middle to the bottom. You're going to be adding pressure the entire time while you rotate your pen, or your vinyl can fold up, it can crinkle on itself, it can stick on itself. So you're adding pressure as you rotate it, and you're adding pressure down on top of it with your thumbs. And then if it doesn't line up fully, you can take a craft knife and trim up the extra on the top and on the bottom. So the first one we did was a clear water slide over a white glitter base. So you can see the glitter underneath the water slide. The printed vinyl is not glittered, so it's completely opaque. So you could have spray painted this a matching pink color instead of doing this acrylic paint to touch up this top. You might not even see it in your geode section. I just like to have it somewhat matching. So in case I get a little carried away with my acetone and remove too much of the spray paint, it's at least matching the rest of the vinyl. And then once your water slide and your paint is dry, you're going to epoxy or Brite Tone until covered. It doesn't have to be 100% smooth. This is the Imagination 3D's pin cup attachment. It is so easy to use. You just clip them in when you're ready and it stays level. Your pins don't fall off. Just makes everything a breeze. I will have this company linked in the description below. I can't stress how happy I am with this company. Once your stuff's cured, you're gonna move on to glittering the clear water slide. I like CrystaLac's glitter glue. You can use whatever glue you would like. And I got this brush at the Dollar Tree. It's Wet n Wild's makeup brush. And the two green glitters I'm gonna be using is both from Peachy Olive Glitter. It's Jack's and Grinch. I like to kind of add two different versions of a color to add variations to it. When I am doing multiple colors, I like to fold individual pieces of paper over so I can go back and forth between the colors and I'm not mixing them. So I just add some glue, whichever glue you want, over the entire pin and then brush it smooth, and then I add my glitter to the swirl. I normally start out darkest color. I'm gonna add just a little bit at different places as I turn my pin, and then I add the next color and I go back and forth between these two just like this. You're not going to want to tap on your pen once you have multiple colors, because then you're going to contaminate any of your glitter that has fallen off on your pages. This is why I go back and forth with the two folded sheets. It just makes life a little easier, and then once I am happy with it or want to tap off any glitter, I bring another piece of paper in and tap off my pen. And then once I'm happy with the glitter, I just take a clean finger and run it along the side where I didn't want glitter in case some fell on to that section. And then set it off to the side until your glue is fully dry. Now moving on to the next one. I spray painted first this dark green, a coat, and then I did a coat of this light green on top. It doesn't have to be solid and it doesn't have to be perfect. I only wait about 5 to 7 minutes between coats and about 10 minutes between the light green to this. I have acetone and a rag. And you're just going to remove the paint with this acetone and rag. Be careful when you don't want your paints dry fully. It comes off very easy and you can take off too much. Also, if you're not careful and you touch your fingers to this wet paint, you will leave fingerprints potentially, or you'll smudge the paint. So just be careful if you don't let it dry fully. If you do let it dry fully, it's going to take more elbow grease to get this paint removed. I use acetone for just this first part to get the spots started, and then I switch to rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is then going to add the more distressed look and clean up your edges so you see that dark green color coming through the light green more. The harder you rub, the more paint that's going to come off. So if you're pretty gentle, you can make very cool designs around those spots to give you that look of the two different colors of green. Once I'm happy, I then work on just the edge. I want the dark green underneath to show through more along the pink edge. So I take my finger and I kind of just work just along that edge with some alcohol, and it will remove the light green. You need to be gentle with this or you're going to remove too much. And here I want to add more of a distressed look, but not remove enough to it shows the pink. So I'm not rubbing very hard on this green, this light green, just to remove the light green and leave the dark green behind. If you go too deep, you will show pink like I just did there, but it still looks really cool. I go around the entire pin, kind of adding this distressed look randomly to kind of give it the look of the watermelon rind that has the two variations of green. Then once you're happy with it, I take a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol and just clean up the watermelon spots, because sometimes you can get residue paint on those spots. It just cleans up really nice with some alcohol. If you're doing Brite Tone, it sometimes will cause your pen to get sticky because the reaction between alcohol and Brite Tone. I wouldn't use as much alcohol if you were doing Brite Tone than if you were doing epoxy. You still can, it just might affect the look a little bit if you use too much. And then I seal this with CC DIY Quick Coat and let that dry before I add it to the turner. And then I turn these until they're glass smooth with either epoxy or Brite Tone. You can add a decal if you'd like, and then you're done. I hope everyone enjoyed this tutorial and they learned something new. If you have any questions or concerns, please write them in the comments. I will write back. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're notified anytime I post new content. If you're interested in any of the Imagination 3D products I listed in this video, please use the link in my description. It is an affiliate link. I will get a small commission at no extra cost from you. Thank you everyone for your continued support.